All right, we're back. There's more. There's more here. There's not. Don't go to the exhibit hall. There's not more happening there. Nothing's happening back there. But here in this little room, our little tucked away SketchUp teaching space, there's more happening. Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm Aaron, called the SketchUp guy, and we're going to take a look at some options for modeling, including imagery versus modeling details. So we're going to give everybody a few more minutes to get signed on, and hopefully it will. I'll show something and you'll learn something. That's really the big hope. Where all is everybody signing in from? Where are you guys saying hello from? I am sitting in Longmont, Colorado, just north of Boulder, Colorado, where SketchUp's home office was located. And it's cold here. Denver, you probably got some of the same thing going on. Oh, that's more, yeah.
That's me.
that's a seed chat right there.
Oh, I'm caught. Guilty.
Massachusetts got lots of snow. I can't say we have lots of snow. It's just sprinkling, just dusting, just enough to let you know that it's cold out that window. That's all I got going on right now. But
although I think it's coming our way. We're supposed to get that cold front soon.
Texas. I'd imagine less snow, Renee, down there in Texas. Netherlands. I have no idea. What time of year is it in the Netherlands right now? I don't even, I'm sorry, I apologize. I've been preoccupied with life here and not paying attention to the Netherlands like I should. I'm sorry, I apologize. Winter. So I'd imagine you got some nice cold weather and snow as well. All right, it's officially after our start time of 12:30. So let's go ahead and we're gonna hop in. So the big thing that I wanna take a look at today is I want to present some options for you as you go into creating your models inside of SketchUp. So especially when we look at things like kitchens and baths. Kitchens and baths are where you can really weigh down your model. There's a lot of small details you can put into kitchen and bath that you don't run into in other rooms. So you have things like bathrooms, living rooms, that kind of thing. Just never the same amount of detail as a kitchen, say, for example, where you have cabinetry, appliances, sink faucets, bathrooms where you have toilets and sinks and showers and shower heads. It's real easy in those specific rooms to create very heavy models with lots of geometry. So I want to present some options. Just take a look at what that means when you get those polygon heavy modeling sections in your house. So with that, let's go ahead and we will hop in. Literally, look, I just jumped inside. We'll hop into this model and start taking a look. All right, so I have a very simple, I guess you'd call it clean looking kitchen here. I really wanted to just look at just the important parts, the specific pieces I wanted to look at here. So we don't have anything like an island because I want to be able to navigate here and not run into the island constantly. I'm making excuses for not being a good kitchen designer, basically. This is simple and clean because that's what I know is going to look okay. As soon as I start to get a little bit kooky with it, it's going to not look as good. So anyhow, we have this kitchen. I'm just going to kind of buzz through here real quick and show you what I have, and then we'll dive into some options of how this could be laid out. So as we come around here, I have this microwave dishwasher, and we have a sink, and I do have like this the full faucet is modeled. Over here on this side, we have a range right here, and you can see the detail that went into the range, all the burners, the knobs, even some text here on the knobs. So quite a bit of detail has been modeled in here. Same thing with the hood above. Every button is actually, a circle extruded out. And then carrying on over here where we have our oven, refrigerator. So these they're good models. These are the GE models that have recently headed up onto 3D Warehouse. Good stuff, but you can see kind of what this looks like. This model's great. It's not a super heavy model. If I look at the size, I did go look at what this is. It's a 5.7 megabyte file just for this kitchen vignette right here. That kind of gives you just an idea of where it's at. That's a benchmark. That's not saying good or bad. It's not necessarily in and of itself an indicator of how well modeled this kitchen is. It just gives you an idea of what's here. Alternatively, I have this other kitchen where very, very similar to, at first glance, looks a lot like the other kitchen. But if I zoom in here a little closer, you can see stuff like, especially here at this range, the range is just an image. If I look up here, same thing, I got an image on here. The oven is an image, and it's much less detail than what I saw in the other model. If I look at the size of this, it's 2.7 megabytes, so less than half the size of the other file. This, like I said, in and of itself is a kitchen vignette. Not a huge deal, not a thing to stress about, but this right here is going to be much more performant, especially if this is just a piece of a larger model of an entire house. This is going to always be more performant. It's going to load quicker. It's going to save quicker. And as I'm navigating around in it, any of those situations with the full model where it takes a second to redraw or something like that, I'm not going to have those issues in here because it is lighter. Now, obviously, there's pluses and minuses to both these. So I want to run through a couple of those things real quick. So I'm going to hop over here real quick, back to the detailed kitchen. And we're going to look at what kind of stuff's in here, why you do this. So one of the big things, one of the reasons you would go into this level of detail is if I'm doing any kind of rendering or I'm doing anything where I want to get that detail into my output. So obviously, like I said, rendering is a big thing. If I was going to take this, I was going to set it into a rendering engine and put it into V-Ray or Enscape or something like that, this would be important because I need those surfaces to actually physically be rendered. So the other thing, of course, is if I come in here to my shadow settings and I turn my shadows on, if I want to play with shadows and look at how the light's going to come through the window, for example, something like that, then I need to have that detail there. Obviously, I'm not going to get the detail of the geometry if the geometry doesn't exist. So depending on what you're trying to create as far as output, you're going to change what you want to model. And that's a huge thing in SketchUp. I tell people this all the time. You need to model to your final product. What are you trying to get out of this? If all you're doing is a quick schematic layout, I just need to see, do I want to put the fridge on this side or this side? Then don't worry about super high levels of geometry if you're the only one seeing it. Use boxes, you know, that kind of thing. Make it quick, make it snappy, make it easy to use. If you're going into something where you're actually going to get a rendered output, or if I want to do something real artsy and, you know, get this view from here where I'm looking down and I want to render that out and I want to throw that on the front of my plan set or my submittal to the customer, then you have to use this higher level geometry. If you're not doing that, if all I'm doing is just checking something out real quick, is how would this look in the kitchen, then don't use that higher level geometry. Obviously, the downside to going to this level of geometry is performance eventually. So I have a fairly snappy newer computer, so it's not causing an issue here. Depending on the machine you have, if you have a more limited capability in your computer, then you may actually see an impact by pulling in all this extra geometry. Like I said, this in and of itself isn't too big, but I did do some things to save time, save some space on here. My cabinets are components. So that's another thing. If you do have pieces that repeat themselves multiple times, using components is going to make it quicker for SketchUp to load that geometry in. Something else to take a look at. So this is really, I'm going to use this as my example again. My range here, not my range, the range. I did not model this, but it is a really good looking range. So when I look at this, there is a lot of detail. So like I mentioned before, I have the text here on top of the knob. That doesn't necessarily have to be there depending on what I'm going to do with this model. So if the closest shot I have of that range is like this, well, then that's geometry that doesn't have to be there. Likewise, circles are another thing. So if I look at, let's hop up to the hood real quick. So these circles right here, these are really, get in here. This circle, let's see, this has 24 sides. So circles in SketchUp are actually polygons with special information in there saying this is a smooth polygon. You can actually create a circle with any number of sides, right? So you can create a circle with 3 sides if you want, and it'll treat it like a circle and smooth it. The issue comes up, again, how much geometry do you have to create to make what you need to get out of SketchUp? So if I'm looking at this hood from, you know, I never get closer than this, do I need a 24-sided circle there? If I turn on my hidden geometry real quick, let's turn on hidden geometry and come look at this thing. So you can see with this thing, let's hop in here, select everything. So I have 217 entities for this knob. Again, just thinking about the geometry you're creating is really important. Do I need to have 217 faces for what ends up being a black dot here? So I know I'm going into a lot of information here, but I'm going towards something specifically, which is again designed to what you need. So this might be overkill depending on what I'm doing. If all I'm doing is a quick layout, or I'm just showing this is not my final, this is just, I just want to sit down with the customer and go, okay, does this layout work? Pretend you're standing in this kitchen. Do you like having the microwave over on the right side and the refrigerator on the right, or left, sorry, both of them on the right? Microwave on the left, fridge on the right. So that's what takes us into something like the image kitchen. So if I look at this, I'm just going to show you how this is done. Right here in the other kitchen, this is where the actual component for the microwave was pressed into the cabinet. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just click down here till I get to it, and I get to just this raw face. I'm going to go File, and I'm going to import an image to put on there. So I have this microwave front image. I'm going to import it as a texture, and I'm going to import it, and I'm just going to, right now, I'm just going to come to this corner and double click. So this picture is actually taking off of GE's website where they have their hero imagery. Here's what it looks like. So I just right-clicked and saved the image and then dropped it on here. So you can see, obviously, this wasn't cropped properly for my usage. It's not exactly lining up with the corners. It's not the right side. There's actually even a little bit of a angle to it. I don't know if the whole thing is angled or if there's a little bit of a warping, but you can see I got the picture in here, but it's not exactly what I need. But that's okay. That's why we're teaching things. So what I'm going to do is, with this surface selected, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to texture and click position. In order to do this, you do have to be able to select the surface that you want to change the texture on. So I can't go out like into the outside of a group and do that. I can't grab a smooth surface where I have several edges that are hidden. I can't do that. I have to have a single surface selected, texture, and then hit position. When that first pops up, I can grab and I can drag that around, and in some cases you might get lucky and this might just perfectly line up. I do have handles on here, so most of these handles I'm not going to bother with. I have the move handle that pretty much does the same things if I click in the middle and move. I have these skew and, I don't know, distort options where I could take a picture and just make it look crazy. I'm not going to use those. If I look at this green handle, most of the time I come in to adjust a texture, it's going to be using the green handle. The green handle lets me do two things. It lets me rotate the texture, and it also lets me resize the texture. So again, I could use this green handle to try to stretch this out so it's just right to fit on this piece. But again, one of the issues I have with this particular image is this distortion. See how this side of the microwave is not lining up with my straight line here on either side. So in a situation like this, and actually what I would do most of the time, I'll do a quick resize so it fits inside the surface I want to put it on. And then I'm going to right click on a pin and I'm going to turn off fixed pins. That's going to change my colored pins to these little white guys. What I'm going to do now is click and release on one of these. I'm going to drag that and I'm going to put that right at the corner of the microwave. And then I'm going to zoom in over here, click there, drop that right outside that corner. And I'm going to do the same at the top, click and release. And I'm going to drop that one right outside that top left corner. And one more time, click and release, and drag that right outside the upper right corner. So it is important I'm mentioning I'm click and release. That's how you pick the pin up and move it. Once it's in there, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag that pin to the corner of my image. And see what that does? It stretches it. It's almost like that image is printed on like a piece of fabric or something. And you stick a pin in and you drag it like that, and it stretches the fabric out. What this is going to let me do is, one, fill up the whole face that I have dedicated to this image, and two, it's going to account for that skew that I had in the microwave picture. If I had just blown it up so it just filled that space, it would have been all right, but I would have had those white gaps on the sides. All right, so if that looks good, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And when I come out now, you can see, oh, there we go. So now I have just that image on there. So that is, so even though if we, well here, let's take a look. Let's just do a side-by-side comparison real quick. Let me hop back over to detailed microwave. And you can see the detail that's in here. So I have these rounded corners. I have this pushed in for where the microwave door is. Up here, it's not as detailed as what I have on the range because this is an image. But even though this is an image, there's a lot more geometry and detail in here than there is in the other one, obviously. So this is probably hundreds, maybe thousands of edges and faces. Whereas this one right here, this is just a single face. Now, always the question always comes up, well, those images are saved into the SketchUp model. So that does cause the model to get a little bit bigger, but the size that's added by those couple of images is far, far smaller than what I would have if I detail all the geometry out. Now, having said that, this is a pluses and minuses to everything. I know it's nice to just show up and say, just tell me how to do it. And unfortunately, good trainers won't tell you exactly how to do it. They'll make you think, we'll challenge you. It really comes down to, again, how are you going to use it? The nice thing about this is this looks just like the product because it's an image of the product and it's dropped in there. This is exactly what it's going to look like. If I go to render it, it's going to look like somebody printed out a picture of the product and put it on the side of the cabinet. So I wouldn't want to render this necessarily. Something to keep in mind when you do use images like this is SketchUp, when it displays images at 1024 pixels. That's how big an image is displayed on the screen. So if you go get some super high resolution 4K monstrous image, it's going to be a bigger file to save in the SketchUp file. So it is going to make your file bigger, but it's still going to display at 1024. So don't bother with these super high resolution images because SketchUp doesn't take advantage of that. It will get the best out of just like I said, taking pictures off of websites is perfect for this. And it's super easy to drop in. So this image, the one that the file that I have over here, when we look back at detailed, this file, this microwave was actually pulled off of our 3D warehouse. So 3D warehouse does have a bunch of catalogs for manufacturers like GE in their Monogram series, which is high resolution, high detail models of their products. So if you can get that and make it line up, then it's super easy. Just grab a manufacturer model and drop it in. If you don't have that, you don't want to go to the depth of modeling all that geometry yourself, that's another spot that the image is nice because the image is going to get you the same level of detail that you need just to recognize exactly what it is without going through and making that detailed model. Okay, so the other thing, so one other thing I did do on the show is in the image kitchen, faucets, plumbing, they are notorious for being high poly models. There's a lot of pieces to it. As soon as you make something round and then take that round thing and bend it, you're going to create a lot of polygons. So things like faucets end up being very heavy. So this faucet, in the interest of, again, keeping the whole thing light, is a face me component. So similar to how Sumele here is a face me component, it's a thing that always faces towards you. That's where the name comes from. I did the same thing with the faucet where I just took an image off the manufacturer's website. I went into a photo editor, trimmed it, and then saved it as a PNG with transparency. And when I imported it, I just put it down right by this point and made a face me component. So it's another way to save file size. It's not the best looking. Again, I wouldn't want to render this because it would render as just a flat picture sitting there. But for the point of walking quickly through a site, it tells me this is where a faucet's going to be, and I don't have any problem with that. Okay, so how do you get the best of both worlds? Well, what if I want that quick and easy, super snappy model where it's light and it's easy to work in, but I want the ability to go in and render it later on? I'm glad I asked. So what I created a third model, which I called the hybrid kitchen. So my hybrid kitchen is actually a combination of both files. So I took my geometry, or my image items and my highly detailed items, and I smushed them together. How does this work? I created 2 tags in here. So I have a detailed tag and I have an images tag. When the images tag is turned on, you can see this looks just like the images file. So there's my microwave, there's my face me faucet, and then over here, here's my image range. So it's right now, it's super light, super snappy. But if I swap that, if I turn images off, see all my appliances disappeared, and detailed on, in the same model, I have all this geometry. So why is this important? Well, let's say, for example, that I want to take my range and my hood and I want to slide it over, something like that. What I could do is I can work in my images like this, and I can grab these 2 components and I can say, okay, I want to move this over this way, 12 inches. And obviously we'd have to do some work here. I'm going to take that out for right now. Come into the countertop, slide this over 12 inches, push this way 12 inches, and there fairly quickly we were able to move that over, no delay or anything like that, real quick, real easy. And if I switch back to detailed, there I have my detailed geometry. So the way this works is I'm just going to look at one thing. I'm going to just pull this up. So inside this group, I actually have 2 different components. So here's one. I'll slide this over so you can see. I have both of these sitting inside of a component, one on top of another. One of them is tagged as being images. The other of them is tagged as being detailed. So as I switch these layers on and off, one or the other shows up. But because they're in the same group, when I go to manipulate this, both of them move together. So it gets me the best of both worlds. It gets me the ability to take and move items around. So again, if you're sitting down with your customer and you're actually, actively designing a kitchen, moving stuff around, I'll never experience lag because there's too much geometry. They won't have to redraw the screen. It'll be super snappy, quick and easy. And then just with the click of the button, I can say, okay, let's switch from our detail or our image view to our detailed view. And then I could do a render or something like that. So this gives you the ability to function as fast as possible, but at the same time, you have all the options of both kitchens. So file-wise, this is going to be the biggest one, obviously, because you have both squished together, but it's less of an issue with performance because you don't have to have all that geometry on. I should probably fix this because that's not going to work very well. Take that and scoot that back over here. Oops. All right. Okay. So kind of a nice option. Like I said, it's a little extra work because I do have to create the stuff twice. But if you're using the same information over and over again, or you're investing time and energy into your job, a specific job, it's worth the time. It's really pretty quick and not too painful. Creating those image things in particular, really pretty snappy. We saw how that worked. Hey, wow, I was right. I was shooting for finishing around 12:50 or so, and I got just about there. Just to throw out, do you guys have specific questions that I can touch on? We have 6 or 7 minutes left, so I can take specific questions you guys have right now, specific to images or detailed modeling or 3D warehouse. But if you guys have some other question and we don't have questions on those specifically, we can touch those too. So if you want to click on the Q&A and ask a question, I will do my best to answer it in the time we have left. One moment. All right. And I was going to ask, I'm assuming most people found the link to this either through a previous session or through our blog. Were any of you guys attempting to attend the KBIS exhibition and unable to due to technical difficulties, or did you guys all find us externally? We're kind of wondering how big of an impact what happened with their inability to open the exhibition floor has impacted our attendance.
Or did you hear about this through Tammy Cody's newsletter?
That's true. External. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. We were really hoping to meet a whole bunch of new people and hang out with them. I mean, there's nothing. I'm excited to hang out with you guys, and that was nothing bad about what's going on here. It's just a drag that we almost had a trade show, and then we didn't. Yeah, the KBIS website was frustrating. I'm sorry, couldn't find. Yeah, the booths were just, the whole thing was very frustrating. So, well, hey, I'm glad. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you following Tammy and coming over. Yeah, Kathy came through from the previous sessions. Awesome. Well, hey guys, that's like I said, unless you have questions, if you have questions you want to throw out, that's awesome. Otherwise, this is the thing I wanted to show. I wanted to talk about the pluses and minuses of detail modeling versus image modeling. And this was really it. So hopefully, I'm hoping, I'm an optimist, but maybe I'm seeing this as realism. KBIS next year, maybe we'll all get to hang out in real space.
Fingers crossed.
in a big, yeah, in a hall somewhere, we can actually all get together and
imagine
see
that.
ourselves. Maybe we'll be wearing masks. I don't know. We'll see. But
this is great. Thanks, Aaron. I hope everyone took away some tricks. I know I did. To answer someone's question about the recordings, yes, we did record this. We will be processing the recordings, and then we will try to get them out to you via email in the next couple days.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for coming. If you are able, do we have the GE links in our blog also, Aubrey?
Yep. So I just shared a link to our blog, which has all of our live events on there, including the events that we are hosting with GE. So check those out. We are basically hosting live events every hour from 10:30 a.m. Eastern time all the way until 3:30 p.m. Eastern time today and tomorrow. So lots of events to check out.
Yeah. So can't go to the exhibition hall, but you can still get plenty of people talking about SketchUp, which is, let's be honest, that's what you were going to the hall for anyhow. So awesome. Well, oh, and Corey's saying that there's maybe some bad links.
I will go check that out, Corey. Thanks for calling that out.
Take a look.
Give me a couple minutes and then maybe hit refresh.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And hopefully we will see you at some point in the future.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.